Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon for the latest film interviews, features, and recommendations on the movies that matter.
Gentlemen, so good to see you. You know, I'm really happy that we've gathered to talk about something that makes us so joyful at a time that's not particularly joyful. We're going to talk about Udaan, of course. This month, 10 years ago, was when your beautiful film Udaan, premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. That was the first public screening. And I'm so excited that Vikram, you, the writer-director of the film, Rajat and Ronit, both of you as the principal leads of the film, we're here to talk about the film. This is a reunion of Udaan. We're celebrating 10 years of, undoubtedly my favorite film of the last decade. I really love the film, and I think to each of you I've told you that separately. So I'm really excited to talk about it. I want to start by asking straight off, how did that film change each of your lives? Because Vikram, for you, it was your first film as a director. Rajat, it was your first film as actor, and Ronit, you were the busiest TV actor. But this was a film that really changed the way that people looked at you, and I feel like a lot of things changed after that. But I should leave you to say it. So I'm gonna, each of you, Vikram, if you want to go first, how did Udaan change your life?
Completely. I think one is that it was the first film. It's your baby. It's your first baby that's coming out. I mean, all those things are the important creative things and the important emotional things that the back. You're waiting 5 years to make a film and it finally happens. So I think there's emotionally that whole thing of like, it's done, so I can be a new person right now. But I think also what it did was it definitely opened up, I mean, it did change my life. Udaan, because of Udaan, Phantom happened. Because of Phantom happened, multiple films, the partnership where I am today is all because of, that film happening. So yeah, I mean, my life completely, I mean, it was all completely dependent on that film doing what it did at the time for me to be, in a situation where, touch wood, I'm in a position where I can still make films and I can still be happy with the work I'm doing, and that's exactly what I want.
Right. Rajat, for you?
Like I feel it. Whatever I am today, it's because of that film. Because still till today, if I go out, if I go for a meeting, for a work meeting, the first thing we talk about is Udaan. And people, I still remember for one of the meetings, like a few years back, they called me and then they said, we thought of you because we actually, in fact, I was working on that project. Then the co-actor of mine, he said that I was offered this film and I got to know that you are doing it. And obviously I've seen Udaan, so I knew if you've chosen it, it has to be good. So that made me be a part of that film. And I think for me as an actor, I think it's one of the biggest compliment that someone respects you as an actor. I think before we did this film, like during the audition process, I'm sure Vikram would agree with you, as not the best of the actor, or the idea of being an actor was very different. It was like you all grow up like watching a Shah Rukh Khan perform, so you have a different idea where you come from. So for me, it gave me the definition of what being an actor is. It changed a lot. Like Vikram would be so proud of me today, because whatever he asked me to do during Udaan, I have been doing everything right now. Like I write today, which I never did in my life before Udaan. I watch a lot of world cinema, which I never did before Udaan. I read a lot of books, which I never did before and all these things, they were asked by Vikram. He asked me to do that. And today I do each one of them. In fact, because of this quarantine, I finished writing my first feature film, which I also have to give it to Vikram, because obviously he has to give me feedback. But then, yeah, there's a lot happening with me over these years, and all the credit goes to Udaan.
Ronit, for you, I mean, like I said, you were already, a very busy, very popular, very successful actor. What did Udaan do for you?
That line that I was an actor.
No. I meant you were already a very successful actor.
No, I have to go there. I think Vikram will disagree with that. Vikram would like to say that I became an actor after Udaan. तो वो
Absolutely
जब
not.
अभी जो से वो इसने मेरा नाक तोड़ा, तो वो सारे गड़े मुर्दे जो उखड़ रहे हैं वो सारे हम लोग उखाड़ेंगे आज.
Correct.
So so like you said, I was extremely busy on television, and how this film happened. Give me about 5 minutes or 3 minutes later, I'll tell you how, because I want to talk about destiny
Right.
and how destiny takes you and puts you in a certain place where you're supposed to be. But anyway, having reached there, and this is, I think, second day, and we've had a long day, and then the unit has to turn around, and we've been at work since morning. And post dinner at around 11 o'clock in the night, after having shot from 9 o'clock in the morning, we pick up one of the key scenes. I think the scene was called "Laying Down the Rules." Right, Vicky?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were shooting that scene. Until then, we were shooting like light stuff, and this was one of the very important scenes of the film. And so then everybody had a problem on the set because I was making a drink and putting ice in it, and the sound recordist was not happy, and he would say that either you talk or you put ice, or don't do both together. I said, how is that possible? How can I stop midway? And anyway, so I think we were all tired and things were not going the right way. And the director was sitting in the adjacent room, and suddenly I hear this the F word, and I hear a chair being kicked, and a table goes and falls somewhere else, and he comes up, and then there was some words of guidance from Vikram, and then he decided to not shoot the scene that night and shoot it the next day. But yeah, so the key thing here is that when something like that happens, it because you on television you're going to work every day, and you're playing the same character every day. You played the same character for 5 years or 6 years or 3 years or whatever, and suddenly when you're on a set, and Vikram and me had our share of debates before before we went into filming. We went on to set. We have even discussed कि कितनी स्लीव का लेंथ कितना होना चाहिए. चलो 1 इंच कम करते हैं, नहीं आधा इंच करते हैं, अच्छा पौना इंच. We settled it. So we've gone through the process, and here I'm on set, and my director is completely unhappy. Is an understatement. So and then suddenly you're snapped out of your slumber, and it dawns upon you that boss, you're in another zone. So I've joked about it, but very, very seriously, I think Udaan, and especially Vikram on Udaan, there was maybe somewhere inside me there was a dimension hidden. The scene that we were shooting was, I think, Vikram first shot. Next day was okay. And
It
we were happy with
was it was the scene. It was actually the smoking scene and then the fight after that. The first argument that he has with you. Second half of the film. I remember that we were doing that. But so I'll tell you. Can I say my version of the story?
now it's inside the room part.
So what was happening was Ronit was outside, and this is what Ronit is saying now when you're saying don't overlap each other. So this is exactly what was happening. Ronit, coming from television, had the habit of saying a dialogue, and the dialogue is so echo in the room. This is the television habit, right? So Ronit could not get over the fact that Rajat is interrupting. So the set we were on is there's a I'm in the inner room, Ronit's in the outside room, Rajat's in the bedroom door, right? And there's a bathroom that connects through. So I could go to Rajat by not going past Ronit to him, right? So he'd say, "मेरे को अपना dialogue खत्म करने दो." I say, "हाँ sir." And I'd go to Rajat and say, interrupt. Because that whole energy, energy to play out, and Ronit was getting more and more upset, and because of that, he was forgetting his lines. And at some point in time, I remember the take was going really well and was happening, and kuch ho gaya, and it just cut hota hai. A typical director thing. I was standing up, leaning on his plastic chair, picked up the chair, and I threw it down, and of course the F word came out and all that kind of stuff. I suddenly looked back, and every assistant director is against the wall. They've gone flat, but they were right behind my shoulder. They've now gone against the wall, 10 feet behind. And this kind of argument happened that day between us. But from that day, I mean, it was Ronit, what he brought to, I remember, and this was on day two of shoot or whatever it was. And I remember there was one day of shoot when we were shooting the first day going jogging, which we did towards the second half of the schedule, where, you know, he's there and the kids come down and he says, "Subah jogging karni hai, so tumko pucha koi." And just the way on the first take, Ronit did that. Tumko pucha koi, with the posture, the little bit of, you know, the stomach sort of sticking out. And I said, oh my God, this guy's actually turned into Bhairav Singh, because he was so brilliant by the second half of the shoot. That I didn't have to direct him up beyond the point. I mean, the whole second half of the shoot was nothing to, I didn't have to give him any instructions. It was more about action role, you know, because he just became that character and he was so brilliant as that.
And he became that character so much that he would slap me in scenes which was not written. Like there are so many pinches and slaps in the film, which, like, all his improvisations, it's never. And the tears you see in my eyes, they're genuine, legit, real tears. There's nothing, like, I had no idea. I was not prepared for a slap all of a sudden. So, and even if in one scene there's one slap, he would slap me, and while leaving, he would just whack me again. And I was like, whoa. So after a point, it was, मैंने इतनी थप्पड़े खाई है उस movie में. And also the scene we were talking about before this, my version of that scene is when Vikram is coming to me and telling me कि अरे interrupt, like बीच में बोल तेरा dialogue. And when I'm doing it, Ronit is getting pissed, obviously, because he doesn't know that it's coming from the director. Now, for me, I have grown up watching Ronit perform. Like, for me, he's like the actor. So for me, as a newcomer, it was like, dude, like, I'm not going to constantly keep doing it, because eventually he'll slap me or he'll be very pissed. But then we had to do it because.
But you got your revenge at some point. You got your revenge and you broke his nose. Now I think it's 10 years. Now it's about time you own up. Was that in the moment? Was that, you know? Was that just, you know, all a build up and it was frustration? What was it?
You know, it's, to be very honest, it's been 10 years. I'm at a very, very different stage personally. I would still never dare to do it on purpose. Like it was, you know, I think the fact that it was my first proper acting project ever, like that nothing I'd done before that, like I didn't know the entire acting bit. So for me, you know, I'll tell you, like, it's like normally when you punch, you keep it loose and you just act, right? I now I don't know the technicalities of those things. So मैं full like नया actor, full जोश में, I was like, I'm doing it for real. And we got, I don't know how many, but we got like a lot.
It was take four. So that excuse, I don't know if a नया actor.
No, it's not an excuse. Team गए ना. Like 3 takes were perfect. Like we knew how to, you know, I would punch him and he would just go down and come back up, and he'll take his line. In that particular, it happened so quick. He went down and he did not come back up. And Ronit was like, "It's broken." That's the first thing I hear, and I was like, oh shit! Like
you just knew, Ronit. Ronit, you just knew that it was broken, huh?
Of course. I mean, there was this sound talk.
Actually, if you hear really closely, you know, Vikram had told me this and I paid attention. If you really pay attention to that scene, you can hear it.
Yeah, sound.
We all heard it. I heard it on my headphones. Yeah.
Wow.
Kunal was on the floor above, right, Vikram? He was on the floor above.
He was on the floor above. I remember because I heard it, right? And Ronit goes down, and I mean, there's some footage, and Ishika is sitting right here. She'll also sort of testify to that. So I heard it. I saw Ronit going down, and my calculation at that point in time is, okay, he's broken his nose. I'm immediately going to, we're fucked. How many days am I losing because of his nose? Because he's the busiest actor in television at that point in time. Right? So my immediate thought is not about, oh fuck, he broke his nose. Should I go to my immediate thought is like, what's going to happen to my schedule? So I'm just like, I'm calculating in my head, how many days am I losing? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And sometimes when that panic makes you, you start to smile, you start to laugh. There's a moment, so I think, and Shika looking at me, why are you laughing?
No, it was for me, it was so crazy because a lot of people don't know in that moment when a new actor, like your first project ever, you break Ronit Roy's nose, and Vikram comes to me and he's looking at me and smiling. And I'm shit scared at that point. I genuinely thought Ron is going to get back up and punch me, because it would be like I would totally get it. If reflex me, he would punch me back. And Vikram comes to me and he's laughing and he's like giving me those isharas ki, हाँ तूने बदला ले लिया types. I'm like, fuck, dude. Like,
No, I think Vikram was smiling at you because of all the trouble that I had given him earlier. He was like, "Acha boy, तूने मेरा काम नहीं कर दिया साथ में."
No, I was zoning out. I was in a panic at that point in time. I didn't know how to react. So Ishika literally had to tell me, like, why are you laughing? I said, I don't know what to do at this point in time. It's the end of the day. We haven't really finished this scene. And anyway, like the struggle of, that sort of like thing. So my immediate calculation, I'm looking at, I think Ruchi, the first lady at that point in time, and both our look was like, we're fucked. How are we gonna finish this film?
and within the next minute, like Ronit is rushed to the hospital, and Vikram is like, अच्छा अभी Ronit नहीं है, तो वो trunk वाला scene करते हैं. And I like, dude, I just broke his nose. How can I shoot right now? But we actually did. I changed my costume, and we did right after that. We started shooting the trunk scene.
I think I went to the hospital and
came back.
They did a whatever X-ray or whatever, and they said ki we have to operate on your nose because it's in 3 pieces. So I said, chalo, operation to then will happen whenever it will happen. And then I went back to the set, right?
Yeah.
Vikram, and we finished the scene.
You finished, yeah.
We finished the scene, and then after that,
And just imagine how scared I was doing the same thing again with his broken nose. मैंने कहा मैं वो तो नहीं करूँगा. वो आपको मिल गया. We'll do the part after that, but I can't do that part again.
No, but honestly, there was honestly some magic in that specific take. There was an energy in that take, and it felt it happened very naturally. There was something in that take which was just like feeling very real, very distinct. So, and that's the one we've used in the film. That's the sound we've used in the film. It was very magical.
It's so beautiful to be able to sort of look back at something like that, and it's so lovely to see even Ronit sort of laugh at it now in retrospect, of course. But isn't it true to all of you, and I don't know, I'm sure Rajat and Ronit, you must know this, and Vikram, I want you to share, isn't it true that this casting almost didn't happen? I mean, you had Ronit in mind for a different role. Rajat actually came in with his brother to audition. I mean, give us a sense of what could have been.
No, I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah, listen, he'll tell you.
So Anurag was a friend.
Yeah.
And one day I go down my building and I was going to work and Anurag was there waiting for a rickshaw. So I said, where are you going? He said, yaar, meri photo session hai barista pe. मेरे को छोड़ दे. So I went to drop him and he said, मेरा एक दोस्त है विक्रम एक पिक्चर बना रहा है, तू करेगा? I said, हाँ करूँगा, क्यों नहीं करूँगा? So he said, ठीक है, मैं meeting fix करता हूँ, and you come to the Marriott. That's where we hang out nowadays, and Vikram will narrate the film to you. I said, superb, yeah. And I was very excited. I mean, going back to film and after such a long time, and so I went to the Marriott, and I think it was Mizzo, the Italian restaurant, and these guys were having brunch. So ek to nalayak logo, they didn't offer me brunch. There was, I think, some UTV guys hanging around with them, and the UTV guys and these two guys were having brunch. So I sat at the table next to them, and they never even once asked me even for coffee. So I said, "Chalo, theek hai." And I think I waited about some 40 minutes, and the UTV guys left. And Anurag said, come, Ronit, come. So I went and sat, and he said, this is Vikram. And Vikram was sitting in front of me. And I said, hi, I'm Ronit. So he said, yeah, that narration, na? I'm really bad at narration. Yeah. You read the script. So I was like, okay, I'll read the script. So I read the script, and I was supposed to do Ram's role earlier.
This is the brother, Bhairav Singh's brother, Jimmy.
Bhairav Singh's brother, Ram Kapoor played that role.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy, yeah. So let's not talk about the other. There was another actor in my role, and I think the actor in Jimmy's role was not doing it. So they said they thought I would be a good fit, and so I said it was a lovely script and a lovely film. So I would have been honored to be do that part also. I mean, you know. And then one day in the morning, I had come home at about 2 o'clock from a late shift, and I was supposed to leave at about 8 o'clock. And 6:30 in the morning, my wife wakes me up and he says, "Wake up, wake up, wake up! Anurag is sitting outside." I said, "Why is Anurag sitting outside?" So I came out, half asleep. I came out and I looked at Anurag and I said, "Kya hua?" So Anurag scratching his beard and saying, यार मैं यूटीवी पे जा रहा हूँ, मेरी मीटिंग है, तो तू अभी वो जीवी का रोल नहीं कर रहा, तू अभी भैरव सिंह का रोल कर रहा है, मैं बोल देता हूँ उनको. And he walked out of the door. I was like, that's like quintessential Anurag for you. It's like So I mean, you could have texted me, you could have told me on the phone, but he's sitting there at 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. in the morning just to tell me that. So well, yeah. So then that happened. Now the good part about this is that I had read the script from Jimmy's point of view. So I had looked at Bhairav Singh from Jimmy's point of view. And that I have started doing that with most of my scripts. I see the dynamics of a certain character vis-a-vis the other characters from the other character's point of view. It kind of gives me a lot of different nuances to the character that I'm going to play. So yeah, rest Vikram batayega.
But how did you also Ronit? The thing about Bhairav Singh is that he's in this film and certainly in the life of the boy. I mean, of Rohan. I mean, he's the villain in his life. I mean, he's this father who seems heartless and unloving. But there are moments and there are beautiful moments in the film. Those are really small moments where Vikram really reveals who this guy really is and why he is that way. I mean, it's stray pieces of conversation at that picnic at one point. It's the conversation between him and Jimmy once. You also learn at that dinner table scene that there is a cycle of abuse that has gone on in the family. There's a reason why he is this way. How did you kind of become that guy, Ronit? Did you have some sort of prep to become Bhairav Singh?
See, there was I would say 99% of the work was done by Vikram and Anurag on the writing, and then by Vikram, I think somewhere I latched on to Vikram's energy that he had. Also, I never looked at Bhairav Singh as a villain. I always looked at Bhairav Singh as a father, purely because of there's a lot of action in the film, and there are a lot of he does a lot of things which are not acceptable in a normal state of affairs. But the writing had so much where there's a drunk scene that we did on the staircase, Vikram. Where he says "Ladki hai sala," and there is a line in that where he says because the son complains that you never came to see me. And there's a line in that scene where he says हम आए थे, तुम फुटबॉल खेल रहे थे, बहुत खुश लग रहे थे, और हमारे पास कुछ कहने को था नहीं. So he went to see his son, but he couldn't. So there's a lot of layers that Bhairav Singh had that were written into the script. So I think it's 99% all Vix and Kashyap.
Vikram, when it comes to Rajat and that role of Rohan, you didn't even like his screen test. You absolutely didn't like his screen test the first time.
Didn't like is an understatement. He hated it.
But I still there was something about so in that casting, I mean, you're right. What could have been and what eventually happened, and there's I have to give credit to Anurag, for literally, because I was like Ronit says, I was speaking to him, about the brother's role, which I wasn't 100% convinced. I mean, I knew Ronit was having him, but I wasn't convinced that he was that part. I wasn't convinced that he was that part. So there was always some reluctance in me to actually go and, he read the script, but I was a little bit reluctant about the fact that, is this guy is he that guy? The moment the other actor fell out for this thing, I was like, boom, bang, Ronit's the guy. Anurag and me quickly, literally, it's like the next day in the morning, he came to your house and we spoke about it, because Anurag was of the thing that it doesn't matter. You can't push the film, you can't do anything. This film has to go ahead because it was the day we shot the camera test and stuff like that. So boom, we just moved. Ronit was a bit reluctant to say, I'm also a father. So then we sat and we spoke over a few evenings. We spoke. And on Rajat's thing, I think Vicky came and auditioned, and then Rajat just came along for it. And
Vicky's his brother.
Vicky's his brother. So Jogi, who was our casting director, he showed me a bunch of auditions. He said, okay, this guy also is there. He's interesting. I haven't auditioned him. Just see his intro. I said, this guy is a nice looking face. Let's audition him. Audition was very bad. Okay, there's a problem here, but there was something about his personality that was really nice. I said, okay, this guy, I need to meet this guy and sort of like, and so I met Rajat, met him, and he had long hair at that point in time, all the way, to here. But there was something really, 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 really sweet. He just seemed to be, Rohan's character. And I think it literally came down to him and somebody else who was the better actor. I have to say that.
I was about to say, who was a better actor? That's what
who was a better actor, and it sort of came down to saying, okay, do I go with the guy who's going to give me a better performance, or do I go with the guy who is the personality? And I think the call at that point in time was like, no, let's go with the personality, right? Because I felt that if you don't feel Rohan's character, if you don't feel your lead, you're not going to be able to sort of like feel the film. And my worry wasn't his acting. My worry was about, because Rajat is this sort of Delhi boy who's, just like the least physically fit person in this world. And like the first thing I told him, I said, now. So the first thing I was like, I don't want you to do any acting or anything. You do your acting sort of like stuff. I think Vikas was doing an acting workshop. I said, you need to get physically fit. Go train. Go play football. Literally just you have to feel like a boarding school kid. Yeah, boarding school kids are like fit as, so that was his training for the role.
It wasn't even, Vicky didn't give an audition, I think. Vicky went for an audition, but they didn't take his audition, and he came home and told me, and that point, the only brief for an actor was, कि अरे अनुराग कश्यप एक picture बना रहा है, 4 लड़कों की कहानी है. That's all I knew. And for me, and for me, it didn't matter. Like when I auditioned for the first time for Udaan, I didn't know if it's for a lead part or if it's like a 3-minute part. I just went to Jogi ji and they rejected me. They said, नहीं, आप तुम्हारे जैसा लड़का नहीं चाहिए. So I said, okay. So because I had long hair and they were like, we are looking out for a boarding school kid. So not you. So I said, okay, it's fine. Like, because as an actor, you go to different auditions. Not everyone you fit. So I went back home, and after I think a couple of weeks, I got a call from Jogi ji's team, and they said that the director saw your picture. And now the backstory to that, I feel, is I resembled Sajid.
Sajid, yeah.
Imtiaz Ali's brother, who was originally supposed to do the film.
Yeah.
So हम दोनों थोड़े एक से लगते थे. So then they were like, कि अरे एक audition लेते हैं, but then would you be okay cutting your hair? So I was like, I get a lot of my ads because of this, and that's how I make money right now. So I'm not going to cut it right now. But then if you give me the film, obviously, why wouldn't I cut my hair? That's when I gave the audition, which was awful, and that's when Vikram met me and everything.
The rest is history, right? Vikram, as if it wasn't hard enough making this kind of subject in this kind of time, but then you decided to take them to Jamshedpur to shoot for what, 39 days. Not the most glamorous place to shoot 39 days, was it?
Not at all. It wasn't. But it became home after a point. I think it's a place that, at least for me, I don't know about these guys, but it's a place for me which really sort of like became my, it became a home. When I went back, I think 5 years after that, it's like the landmarks. You come back home, the place hasn't changed. I mean, all credit to Imtiaz. Imtiaz read the script. I had written it, for Delhi Satellite Town, and he read it, and he's like, you have to go there. And I went there, and it just boom. It just the lanes were those lanes, and our house was that house, and everything was. But I think the more interesting, the bigger thing was that Mahendra Shetty, who was shooting, my film, had just had an incident before that where he was on a film and he had disappeared from the set. So when I said I want to take Shetty for this film, Mom, who's also my producer, was like, "Are you sure? Because what if he disappears? I'm like, where's he going to go in Jamshedpur? There's no place to go. He can't disappear anywhere in Jamshedpur. So that's how, that was the understanding of that place. But I think we all, I love it. I think it just brought so much character to the film.
Yeah, I think
it brings so much character to the film. The color palette, the whole industrial town look and feel, the smoke in the air, the overcast. It really was another character, and you could feel that that's the worst place to put a 16-year-old kid. Of course he's going to want to rebel. Of course he's going to go against his dad, and of course he wants to break out from there.
And Vikram went like 3 steps ahead. Like he took out the TV from my room. All those. There was no
phone. No phone, no TV whole day, and I gave him an iPod. Gave him an iPod with all the music I wanted him to listen to and all that sort of stuff. The poor guy was just like, he was that frustrated kid who actually was the part after a point. So I am that guy.
I don't even know 10 saal ho gaye if you still know Vikram. At that point, because Vikram took away my phone, and at that point, I don't know even if you remember, Rajeev, the first time ever you did an interview with me, you spoke to me and you asked me, do you have a girlfriend? And I said no comments. Like for a 20-year-old boy, I said no comments to you. And the reason I said no comments was I was madly in love with this girl at that point. And Vikram took away my phone and I really wanted to talk to her at that point. So I'd sneaked in a phone, which I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, now you don't know. So I sneaked in a chota sa wo nahi hota, like a small Nokia 1100 or something, so that no one can find it. But then I would like once in a while be in touch with her and message her or call her. So I already had that character in me who was being a rebel.
Rebellious,
right.
And
also,
what happened to that girl?
She's very happily married now.
Congrats.
So, but then Ronit and me, like we had a good vibe, like we loved each other. So jo scene hote the, like if for example if it's a running scene, so hum bhag ke we would go from one corner of the road to the other. And वहाँ पे Ronit, once I remember this incident, कोई साइकिल लेके बंदा जा रहा था, and Ronit said कि अरे भैया साइकिल दोगे हम वहाँ तक वापस जाएंगे. And he saw Ronit Roy, he's like हाँ ले लो. So मैं और Ronit साइकिल पे बैठ के वापस आ रहे हैं, and Vikram comes to me and he's like, I've told you not to chill with him. Don't chill with him. You're not supposed to chill. And now as a 19-year-old boy, I wanted to chill with Ronit Roy. Why wouldn't I? And I was not allowed to do that. So and Ronit would be like, "अरे कुछ नहीं होता Barmecha, आजा हम ये करते हैं, वो करते हैं." And I like, "अरे यार."
Everyone was a rebel.
Yeah.
Ronit, was it hard for you, Ronit, to ultimately your character Bhairav Singh is sort of cruel to these kids. I mean, there's Rohan, of course, which Rajat played, and then there's that little boy Ayush, Ayan Boradia, who played Arjun. Was it hard for you to do those scenes? I mean, you were a parent yourself. I mean, was it hard to Rajat is saying no, it wasn't?
Yeah. So a couple of things about what first thing about what Rajat said about us chilling. So I've always been switch on. Every actor, good, bad, small, big, old, young. Every actor has his own process. So do I, in a very unschooled kind of way. But I've always been switch on, switch off. But when I switch on, when I hear roll camera, then it's just I've got my blinders on, right. And once it's cut, then those blinders are gone. So that's why the chilling. I mean, if you're not shooting, then you need to kind of let out the steam also. About the 39 days, like I said, once Vikram was there on set, and mom was there, and Ishika was there. So it was like a family. I mean, now that you're saying, I was like, "Acha, itne din thi kya shooting humne?" I didn't feel it. Right. Once I got into the film, we used to be on set most days. There were no breaks, and I think somewhere when you like what you're doing, when you love what you're doing, and you see that you're all on the same page, and that energy is flowing, and it kind of, you don't feel the time, you don't feel the stress, you don't feel the strain, and like Vikram was saying, I mean, after the first few days, it kind of, I the moment I would go on set, I would become Bhairav Singh. So somewhere, I'm sure Vikram secretly did some shit to me, making it to make it easier for me. But yeah, so I had no problem in being Bhairav Singh.
I think what happened is that part of Ronit going away because of the nose and coming back. I remember the whole stress about. And literally, I think there was a point in time after that, because Ronit went, we had to reschedule stuff, so we did all the stuff with Anand Tiwari and all those friends, and we had to pull up those scenes and do that. And then when Ronit, I think, was away for about a week, he had to go back to Bombay. He had to do the operation, rested out for a bit, finish off some other work, and then came back. I think once he came back, we shot for some 21 days straight or something, right? So you got no breaks on the 21 days. You're either doing turnaround days where you're just sleeping it off, or it's relentless. I remember by the time we finished, and we went to Shimla after that, like we just passed out. But I think that relentless shooting doesn't give you time to think, right? So you're literally, going by the seat of your pants. And everybody knows that you're not going to get time to relax and think about this kind of stuff. So you're at a level where you're giving 100 and something percent, every take, because this is it. You don't have the luxury to be able to come back and do it. I think that for me, but also for, all the actors, especially for Ronit. I remember that time that he was just, yeah, and by that time it is a natural, and I think that once he's become the life of that character, I don't have to really tell him that, no, don't say it like this, say it like that. It's, so beautiful. And that whole bringing life into it, like taking a villain character but giving him a sense of pathos. And to me, that the shot of all is the last shot when he goes back into his house. After the letter, it's just magical. I mean, no matter how many times I sort of see that shot, it's magical because he just brought that character, and it's a slow burn, right? You're not immediately, even at the interval point, halfway through when he's saying, I came to your school and stuff like that, you're not sympathetic towards him as yet. You're not sympathetic at all because he goes down again after that. But in that one shot, when he goes back inside the house, I think Ronit just brought so much magic there that moment just really just works beautifully.
Rajat and Ronit, do you have a favorite scene or a favorite moment in the film? I mean, Vikram's talking about the one that really, for him, it illustrates what Bhairav Singh's character was. Do you have a scene that is special, that is more special than the others?
That with a film like Udaan, that would be very difficult to, because it's just like, for me, it's just one flow. For me, it's not scenes, it's just the flow, so it's a continuation of, it's just one thing. So you can't kind of nibble on it.
Sure. Rajat, do you have one?
Yeah, like for me, like in fact, Ronit still had done a lot of work before that. Mere liye to it was the first time ever, and being a part of something like Udaan, I don't think so we can have a favorite scene, because I was shooting every single day, all 42 days of this shoot, I was there. So it was like Ronit said, it was a family. It wasn't like Deepa auntie. It's like, I still call her Deepa auntie. Like today, when I meet people professionally, I take their names. Like it's not like auntie and uncle, but it was like Deepa auntie for me. It was like family chilling together, and there was only one cafe coffee day, jo hamari hotel ki nahi chill kar rahe hote the. There was nothing else in Jamshedpur. But then now onwards, I think it's still like it gives me goosebumps every time till today when I watch it. Now onwards, it's like just that it's some beauty to that.
Also, it holds up so beautifully. It's one of those films that a lot of films get dated. A lot of films 10 years, look at them 10 years later and they feel kind of dated, and it feels like it doesn't work anymore. It's not the case with Udaan. It really holds up beautifully. Vikram, I want to ask you, I mean, it's no secret that it took 7 years to get this film made, to get the first film made. You've spoken about the frustration and just how it was you were frequently angry when you saw other people get opportunities, and it took so long for this to happen. But when you all first when you had that first public screening at Cannes, was that cathartic for you, Vikram? And what was it like for Ronit and Rajat? Vikram, was that a big moment? Did it feel like the end of a journey in a sense?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it felt like some amount of validation. I think it's always. I think that the cathartic moment always comes. For a filmmaker, it's always, I think, the very last day of my edit. And I think I've spoken to you about this in the.
Yeah.
For me,
it was
that
your
was
birthday, wasn't it?
It was my birthday. It was the day I was actually editing the climax and the walk, and I had used some temp music, and I'd done the entire walk in slow motion. And the thing is that you've thought about this. I remember the day I wrote that scene. I remember the day that it was 5 o'clock in the morning after I'd been an all-nighter, and just because I was like, okay, I have to push through this. I don't want to wait till the next day to finish this script, So that while I was writing, I remember that day that I actually finished that moment of, and just that joy of finishing a script and saying, wow, I finished this script. And I felt so happy after that. And of course, my computer crashed that day, but luckily I had a floppy backup, so I could, save that my script was there. So when that moment ends up becoming that, 7 years later or 8 years later, then actually putting that, when you're editing that scene, and there's a moment over there, I cried that day. I just broke down. I was like,
Mama?
For me, that was the catharsis. It was the screening, and because the thing is, the screening is happening, and yes, there's validation, but there's an India release that has to come, and there's still going to be those kind of stresses. And once the India release comes, will the film perform, and will people come and see it or not see it? And there's always those stresses in your head, but in that editing moment, this is like nothing else matters. It's the most purest, filmmaking moment you can have then. And for me, that was the catharsis.
Ronit, Rajat, I mean, in your tuxedos at the, in the south of France, walking up those steps, I mean, that had to be a big moment.
Of course. Go back more than a couple of decades, Rajiv. And my last tryst with the film industry was a producer telling my, at that time, secretary. We used to have secretaries at that time, not managers.
Right.
He had gone to a producer director who was making a film, and he suggested my name. And the person told him कि यार Ronit Roy को लेने से तो better है मैं कोई junior artist को ले लूँ. So and my secretary came back to me very, very upset. And I remember telling him at that time that boss, if that person has said something like this about me, he obviously doesn't know me, but he said this. So maybe somewhere we have given him the reasons to think like that about us. And then of course there was no work. Then television happened, and then 10 years of television, and then you come back with a film. Like I said, you're supposed to do Jimmy, and then you get to do Bhairav Singh, and then you're with the whole team, and you're there, and you're walking. But I still remember who was wearing what. Vicky was wearing a black bandgala with a red piping, and Ishika was wearing a golden dress. My wife was wearing a black sari with red flowers. So it's still like last night in my mind. And I remember we lined up and we walked to the steps, and the president of the Cannes Film Festival was there at the top of the stairs, and he came down to receive us. Vicky, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first Hindi film ever to be in the competition round, right?
It was the first. I think it was the first Indian film in something like 8 years. And
in 7 years,
first
yes.
one to be in a certain regard for a while, and I mean, it basically won. Huh? Yeah, some major amount of that, but one of the first films in a long time to be there.
So to come back, Rajiv, to what I was saying, to be there, and when you've been written off completely, that rising from the dust kind of thing. I mean, there is not to have any validation or vindication or anything like that. It's just reinstating that trust in yourself. That you waited 10 years to see whether that guy was right or you were right. Or maybe we did make those mistakes, but then, maybe we overcame those mistakes somehow and we got there. So it's like this, huge, I wouldn't even call it a victory. It's just, it's like a dream coming true in, sense of the phrase.
So beautifully put. Yeah, yeah. Rajat, do you have memories?
Yeah, I feel Cannes Film Festival is for any actor, like obviously director, but for me, like any actor, it's a dream to ever be a part of any, like even be a small part of a film that goes there. And I was like one of the most important part of that film, like as an actor. Like I feel that's one experience you can never forget. Like no matter you do 500 films, for your first film, walking that red carpet with, I don't even have a count of how many photographers were there, and we were told a certain way you walk. So you take a few steps, you look left, you pose for these cameras, then you look right, pose for these cameras, then you take few more steps, and all this while a song from your movie is playing in the background on loudspeakers. So I think Kahani Khatam Hai Ya Shuruaat Hone Ko Hai was playing in the background. It is one feeling you can never in your life forget. I think for an actor who's just starting, like the first project ever, there's nothing more. I think I can never, like Ronit said, I remember everything about that period, that time, that night, where we went drinking after that. Everything. I think it's so fresh in your head, even today. There's no feeling like that.
I want to ask. I want to ask all of you. Why do you think it is that this film has, in fact, only grown in in its popularity or in the love that people have for it? When it came out, of course, I mean, it went to Cannes in May and it released in July. I mean, it ran for 8 weeks, but it was a small film that year. I mean, that was the year of some very big films, and this was the small film which actually did quite well at the awards. I think it got 4 Screen Awards, 7 Filmfare Awards. But that's not a film that people were talking about at the end of the year necessarily when you're counting box office and all of that. It feels like this is a film that has grown considerably in its popularity over the years. I'm constantly talking about it, and I'm finding that there are so many people who loved it. And I asked them, where were you when it came out in the cinemas? But what do you think it is about? What quality do you think it is about this film that has given it this this enduring kind of appeal to all of you?
Vikram,
you want to go
will
first?
answer this.
It's a mixture. There's no one. I think it's a mixture. I mean, yes, I think it's a. If I can say so myself, I think it's a good script. I think which has got supremely enhanced with some terrific dialogue writing by Anurag. I mean, and I can give you examples of the little things he's done that I have actually made, made it magical. I think the cast is fantastic. The cinematography is fantastic. It's just the music is incredible, and I think the music adds so much to the emotion of the film. It's an emotional film anyway, but I think the music just enhances that emotion so much where it touches people. Where the amount of people who've come to me and said that it changed my life. This film really changed their life, and I think that is something that is the biggest compliment that I can get. So the validation that came from the awards, was huge for me. I mean, I think more than Cannes woke us up to the audience saying, "Oh my God, a film has been over to the Cannes Film Festival," and the press wrote about it. But I think that that Bombay Times front page saying Udaan wins 7 awards at the Filmfare was for an audience a bit of a wake up. But more than that, like I'm saying, every personal message I've got, every person that someone come and told me that this film changed my life, or it was the most important film or the most emotional film. So I think it's the emotion that sort of drives it. But it's everything. It's really everything. Just comes together. Sometimes it's once in a lifetime they come together. And happens.
It all comes together. Rajat, Ronit?
Go, Rajat.
I feel yes what Vikram said, and also I think because everyone like I till today, it's been 10 years, and if we still talk about a film like that, like after 10 years, it's so fresh. And till today on my Instagram, I get so many messages that this film changed my life. The music, this film, your character, and everything, like the way it all came together was brilliant. And I think the fact that people connected, and despite their, like where they come from. So I travel a lot over the past few years. In the past 5-6 years, I've been traveling a lot. I backpack solo and I travel, and I've met such great people. And eventually, when they get to know that you're an actor from India and they want to check you out and they see this film, and some of them, they've watched the film, and the reaction I get from someone from, say, Argentina or someone from Spain, is the same reaction I got from people here. So there's no difference in how people connect to that story, and I think it's such a big victory for all of us if we could achieve that.
Sure, sure. Ronit?
Rajiv, I'm really bad. I'm really bad with this. Uh, I even when I'm working on a project, I tend to not think about what will happen and how it will be taken. And so, for me to kind of analyze why this, I know for sure that this connect is there. I mean, over the years, just about a week back, there was a lot of activity on Twitter with Udaan, and I retweeted one of a couple of Vikram's posts also, and every couple of months there's that buzz starts happening
Yeah.
again. Uh, I just I'm just very happy with the fact that it has happened. I don't know why and how. I'm just grateful that it has happened.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I try to think about it sometimes, and I think I think it was just the purity and the honesty, because it's a film that I feel that even if you haven't been through those experiences, you can relate to. And I think when that happens, it comes from a place of such honesty, because I haven't had the experiences that Rohan has had. I mean, and I know I speak to others and they say the same thing. A lot of people who didn't necessarily have a turbulent relationship with their parent can still empathize and can still almost still relate to the emotions. And I think that is the beauty of it, the poetry, the moments in it. I mean, the smashing scene, the car smashing scene, my god. I mean, just so much angst, so much power. I believe, Rajat, you had to be goaded a lot that morning when you had to smash that Contessa.
Yeah, there's also like there was so much going on before that happened, because small budget film, we only had one car. We didn't have the luxury to screw that up. And it was such a important scene that you can't go wrong with that. The emotion, the impact, everything has to, and like you have to capture it right on the camera. So I remember Vikram had, like, he told me a little bit, but then he made other people come up to me. I think
I didn't make anybody. That's what the film. That's the magic of the entire thing. Everybody, that film belonged to everybody in a sense that I directed him and went away, and then Aditya Kanwar, my production designer, would go down and say, yeah, I have to do it like this and like that, and Ishika would go and tell him something, and so everybody. It was an important scene for everybody, but no one, everybody wanted him to just do it in the right sort of way. I didn't tell anybody. They all
and,
do by
and,
themselves.
I think
and
that's a very beautiful thing Vikram just said, Rajiv.
Yeah.
That the film belonged to everybody,
To everyone,
Yeah.
and
it
everybody
really did.
belonged to the film. It's like I was telling you earlier. I mean, 39 days or however many days, I don't know. I never felt it, and it never felt. I mean, excess hours, whatever, any kind of work, nothing felt out of place.
right.
And then, of course, Vikram had his bits of great humor thrown in for good measure. So, while doing the, what is that, Dun Baithak scene on the top of that garden, where we had to climb all the way up. One-liners. So I think if you were asking me, then Vikram just said it, and that's what I would like to go with. That the film belonged to everybody, and everybody belonged to the film. I think that's pretty much puts it together.
Right. I think that actually extends even to those that watched the film and loved it. I mean, I know how many times I've jumped in to defend it when someone will say, "Oh, but that film didn't do very well." And I know what you mean by owning it. I think that when you connect with a film so deeply, even if you're just a viewer and have had nothing to do with the making, I think you kind of feel that connect and you're jumping in to defend it always. But thank you, gentlemen. This was so much fun. Of course.
I have one small little nugget.
Please.
The other day, matlab, this is maybe about 6 months ago, before the lockdown, of course. So Ronit and me go to the same gym. And one day I walk in and I see, and Ishika's already told me this is going to happen. I walk into the gym and I see Ronit with his son, Agastya. And Agastya is new to the gym. So, and Ronit is a gym pro, right? I mean, the guy, so he's actually training Agastya. Aise karo, do this, pick it up like that, come on, do it like that. And I'm just standing back and I watch this tableau happening in front of me for about 5 minutes. And I said, it's amazing how real life has become real life. It was a very warm moment there. Your father actually telling his son,
how to,
in a different context, but it's a beautiful little moment that I saw with Ronit with his and how old is he? He's 17. He's 17 or something, right?
He's 12.
He's 12?
Yeah, he's just shot up. He's 6'2", but he's still 12.
He's a giant. Wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So thankfully, he stopped growing and now.
That moment was just very beautiful there to see Ronit with his son.
Thanks so much.
Oh, lovely. This was so lovely. I thank you for this. Of course, it's July when the film completes 10 years of being released. So perhaps all of this will be, I mean, hopefully this will be behind us and you will have a face-to-face reunion, I'm guessing. A sort of celebration for a beautiful film. But thank you so much. I really enjoyed revisiting this film, which I love so much. It was so lovely to hear all of you talk about it and sort of share your memories of what it was like making it. And really, I do connect with I do understand completely what you mean when you say that everyone felt like it was their own film, because I feel like that extends to those on the other side as well. So thank you, Vikram, thank you, Rajat, thank you, Ronit, thank you for this lovely evening. Thank you very much for this.
It's also been 10 years, so I think initially what we promised, Vikram should fulfill those promises now. It's time we do it.
The sequel.
because this was the most asked question when the film came out. Sequel kab aayega, and Vikram used to always say कि before sunrise ka 10 saal baad aaya tha, mera bhi 10 saal baad aayega.
Vikram, it's something to think about.
And with these guys anytime. I don't have a story yet. I mean, I have a bit of a story, but I don't have a script yet.
Well, lovely. And for anyone who hasn't watched the film, I should say here, anyone who's watching this conversation and hasn't watched the film, it's streaming on Netflix. Please seek it out. It's a beautiful film that you will absolutely fall in love with. Udaan is on Netflix. Don't miss it. But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for this absolutely fantastic conversation. I love the film. It was so lovely to hear it from all of you. Thank you so much.
Right on it.